First of all, I just want to say a massive thank you for the encouragement for coming to do this, because I was a bag of nerves this morning, and as soon as I got here today everyone was really encouraging and really helpful, and I don't really feel as nervous anymore. A little bit, but we'll keep that under wraps. So firstly, I want to read from Mark 4 verses 35 to 41, and it is when Jesus calms the storm. So, as evening came, Jesus said to his disciples, "Let's cross to the other side of the lake." So as they took Jesus into the boat and started out, leaving the crowds behind, although there were other boats that followed, soon a fierce storm came up. High waves were breaking into the boat, and it began to fill with water. Jesus was sleeping at the back of the boat with his head on a cushion. The disciples woke him up, shouting, "Teacher, don't you care that we are going to drown?" When Jesus woke up, he rebuked the wind and said to the waves, "Silence, be still." Suddenly, the wind stopped and there was a great calm. Then he asked them, "Why are you afraid? Do you still have no faith?" The disciples were absolutely terrified. "Who is this man?" they asked each other. "Even the wind and the waves obey him." So I want to talk today about storms, and that we all go through storms in our lives, and that we all struggle to see a way out of them. It feels like we're in an endless storm constantly. And just to put this reading in perspective, so Jesus had been travelling around talking to the people in parables and telling them all these amazing things, and the disciples were walking around with him and taking them to each place. And afterwards, Jesus was, I would have thought, tired during the evening and said, "We need to go over the Sea of Galilee." Now, the Sea of Galilee is, I had a look, I googled it up, and the Sea of Galilee is roughly 8 miles wide. The microphone's going. It starts, you mean to go on, come on. So yeah, it was roughly 8 miles wide, which is the equivalent of going to the mainland and back again. And this isn't even on a ferry either. This is on a little rowboat with a little sail on it, and just hoping to make their way across, which, to be honest, even in calm weather, is a difficult thing to do. And the Sea of Galilee, being where it was also known to have just random storms, really heavy ones, where they're really dangerous and really difficult to get through. And the disciples themselves as well were hardened fishermen, so they were used to a bit of rough weather. But as soon as this storm came around, they panicked, they were petrified. They thought, this is it, this is the end, what are we going to do? And Jesus was thinking, I'm not really that worried, I'm going to go to sleep, I'm going to have a nap. Which, I don't know how anybody can sleep through that, but Jesus being Jesus, he found a way. Which I think is nice, that it shows the human side of him, that although he's the Son of God, he gets tired, he got tired, and that he needed rest. And I think it's just really nice how that showed. But I think that it was such a test of perseverance and faith for those fishermen to go through that storm, and that in the brink of the disaster, while he was asleep, they asked him, "Why do you not care if we drown?" And Jesus just stood up and said to them, "Where is your faith?" He stopped it in an instant. And we see in the Bible that there's loads of references to storms, and another one is in Psalm 46. God is our refuge and strength, always ready to help in times of trouble. So we will not fear when the earthquakes come and the mountains crumble into the sea. Let the oceans roar and foam. Let the mountains tremble and as the waters surge. So saying that although there is all this going on, if we rely on him, all that stuff can happen, but we'll get through to the other side. We'll get there. We will get through that storm and through those troubles. And I'd like to say we all go through storms. Everyone here today is going through a storm at the moment, whether it's something big or something small. It's something. And I would like to offer at the end of the service a time of ministry and a time of healing and prayer. So if you have got anything that you would like healing or prayer for, please don't be afraid, come forward and we can pray with you. It would be something really great to be a part of as well. So I was meant to be sharing this with you guys about a month ago. I don't know if you saw on the roster, I was written down to give this sermon about a month ago, but I was going through a storm of my own. It just wasn't the right time for me. I couldn't face doing this, but I'm here today, so it shows that you can get through those storms. There is a way through, and it is through trusting in Jesus. Just as the disciples had to do, they had to trust in Jesus through that storm to get through it. So a reference to another storm that I'd been through. This is going back to about 2011, and myself and my wife Hannah had been married for 2 years now, and we were at the point where we decided we wanted to have a family. Little did I know, or we know, that we were about to embark on the most difficult storm that we had ever been through, and boy was it. We knew that it was going to happen, but it wasn't going to happen the way it was just a really difficult time, and we just knew it wasn't going to happen when we wanted it. We tried and tried, but for just under 4 years, with no success, we just were at that breaking point. We were both emotionally and physically exhausted from it all, just not knowing where to go from there. We were praying and begging for answers, and I personally, I wasn't hearing anything, probably because I wasn't listening properly. But at that point, I thought, well, God, if you're not going to fix this now, I stupidly thought, I don't need you, you can go. I don't need you, I can sort this out myself. Which is a bit ridiculous, really. You just think, you're obviously not doing all right, mate, I'll sort it, it's fine. Which, when you think back on it now, it's just ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. I ended up falling into a really negative place. I didn't want to come to church, I just didn't want to do anything. I became very bitter, very low, and it didn't fix anything, it just made it worse. We then started having meetings with my in-laws for some prayer and some time of healing. And it was at that point that I realised that this shouldn't happen in my time, that this is all part of God's plan and it will all happen. And we eventually got to that point of going down the route for IVF treatment. And it was through that we found peace in the storm, just like the disciples found peace in the storm when Jesus rebuked the waves and said, it's all right, we're going to be at peace now. We felt that with us, and it was after that time of the IVF treatment that I found out I was going to be a dad, which at that point it felt like the storm never happened. Nothing else mattered. It was just that moment of peace that God brought to me and to Hannah was just amazing. It was by far it was the most difficult thing that I personally, I've ever been through. But once I got through this, the spiritual growth that I went through was phenomenal. It was just, I learnt so much about patience and doing things on God's time. And it was that moment that the first time that I saw little Ethan's face when he was born, the joy was just something beyond words. That trial was done. I got through that storm and I got to the other side. I'd like to read a bit from James 1, verses 2 and 3. So, dear brothers and sisters, when troubles of any kind come your way, consider it a great opportunity for great joy, for you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. Now, I understand that we all go through our different sorts of storms, but we need to know that through those storms, we will find peace and we will find calm. Storms don't last forever. They're only momentarily. We don't know how long they're going to be, but they're not forever. And through Jesus, we can find that peace and we can find that calm in that storm. We've got to understand as well that we shouldn't doubt him. He can solve all of our problems. That point where I doubted that he can fix it, and that doubting that the disciples had on the boat as well, where they thought, we're going to drown, we don't stand a chance. We shouldn't doubt that the fact that God can fix it. He created the universe, he created everything that we see around us, so why can't he sort our problems out? We just have to trust him with them and give them to him fully. And another thing which I find is quite relevant to how we all are, because we live in a world where everything's instant. We can get everything, like click your fingers, you can order something online and then that's it, you've got it in your hands, done. Through easy fundraising. Yep, through easy fundraising, make sure you go through it that way. So my son Ethan is nearly 3 now, and so there's times that he'll ask for something, he'll ask for a treat. He'll ask for, say, like chocolate first thing in the morning, which, in all fairness, I'd love that, but I know it's not the right time. I say to him that it's not the right time, then he gets upset. He gets upset and he cries and he walks away. And it's just like that with us. We want something. We ask God for it. We might not get an answer yet, so we get upset and we think, why? Why can't I have it now? But then, it gets to the point where it is the right time, and I do go over to Ethan and I give him the treat, and all of those tears are just gone. He's just filled with joy, the fact that he's got that now, he's got that treat in his hands. Yes, it was tough, he had to wait, but he got it. And once we see that prize, all doubt goes out the window. And we just have to have that positive outlook to know that, yes, there is a storm, but there is another side to that storm where there is peace. And just like the disciples felt in that storm, I'm sure that they felt great joy when that storm went. They thought, finally, we're safe. I was listening to a song the other day, and it was one that I used to listen to a lot when I was younger, and it's called Your Love Never Fails. And the lyrics are just so relevant. The chorus is, but when there is pain in the night, joy comes in the morning. And when the oceans rage, I don't have to be afraid because I know that you love me. Your love never fails. I think it's very relevant that we sing these songs more, but we also need to live those words. They're not just songs that we sing on a Sunday morning. They're words that we need to take onto our hearts and actually leave here so we can get through those storms. So yeah, I think I've rammed this up quite quickly. Lastly, I just want to say that that you're all amazing. And some of you are probably thinking, all right mate, calm down. All right, it's your first sermon, don't get ahead of yourself. But no, you are. And we don't get told that a lot. We often get into our storms and we lose our self-worth and we just think that, oh, what am I? I'm just hopeless. I can't get through this. But you can get through this. And God spent as much time on creating you as he needed to. And this goes for you people that are watching at home as well. He spent all that time, because time for him is infinite. He's got all that time. And he spent as much time as it needed to make you perfectly. So intricately and delicately, he made no mistake. So what I'd love to do is just for everyone to leave here full of joy and smile on their face, knowing that you can get through those storms. There is a way, and you've got to trust. Just trust that Jesus can get you through there, and he will.